Okay, here's a garden update for the last few days here of July, moving into August, and we have a new addition. So on the north side of the house, we have a little strip here of land where the gate is, and it's been unused, but it gets a good amount of sun, but also gets some shade too. So doing more gardening experiments here, what we did is build this little raised bed. So watching some of the other YouTube videos, M.I. Gardener and Callie Kim, Organics Best, Jake Mace, the vegan athlete, we watched how they did theirs, and so we kind of used them as a template. So basically we went to Home Depot here and got some wood. These are 2x12s. They're 8-foot lengths, and basically then we had the Home Depot guy cut down one of them to be a 3-foot deep, because we didn't really want to go any wider here, because then the gate would open and you wouldn't be able to walk in. So, you know, you think about the gate here and then where this garden bed begins and ends. So what we kind of did here is we got some deck screws and screwed them in. This is pine, so we're going to get a couple years out of this. We didn't treat it or anything like that, so you know, it should be fine here. Now this side sometimes during heavy rains tends to be a little wet, and it can be in a little low area. So what we did is not only one to kill the grass, but we put some mulch here to raise things up. So this is just pine bark mulch, and we basically laid it out here to kind of smother the grass and give us a little bit of an elevation, so in case it does rain, it should drain out and be below the bed and just go down into the grass. And we also kind of left some room here in the back so we didn't butt it up against the fence. We also put the little brick here. One, again, to maybe prevent some of the weeds and grass to come over. Two, to kind of protect the back of the fence there from, you know, rotting out and stuff like that. So just a little bit of a barrier there. And also we have the irrigation line coming all the way down. So we'll be able to irrigate this bed by making connections and doing that. The other reason why we pushed it away from the fence too is to allow the hoop house to come over it. So if we put a hoop house over here for early spring or late winter, we can put the hoop house over in the plastic, or we can put the hoop house in shade cloth. Also, it gives us a little room here to put a trellis. So if we want to do some cucumbers or pole beans, we can stick the trellis behind it and make it go up there as well. So it's kind of a good you know, setup here, we think, and it gives us a lot of flexibility to do different things. So when you're looking at this side of the house here going forward, again, you know, we got this narrow area that we can utilize. And so if this little experiment works, then we can probably add another 8-foot section, maybe even a little bit more, because the extra space here is a little bit more. Now, of course, we kind of run into a bottleneck here as we have the back of the garden and then what we got growing here. So we probably couldn't put a raised bed too much further up, because it would cut off this section. And you know, next year and stuff like that, you know, we may move things around and we could put some raised beds here too, in addition to the containers. You know, it seems like you use the best method for what you're trying to grow and the you know, growing conditions. So one of the things we're learning here is, while these containers are great and you can grow herbs and vegetables in containers just perfectly, the problem is by the time you get to July and August, a small container is going to dry out quickly. So you have to take precautions to, one, continuously water to keep these things going. But if you don't want to use so much water, then really the bigger thing is to do is a larger container, so it will not evaporate and dry out so quickly. So I think that's what some of the success that we're seeing here with these parts of the garden. This is a 20-gallon here, and we have regular drip irrigation hose, and we got the mulch here on top of the straw. And this one, it gets indirect sun, but it stays fairly damp in the center there, so that way we retain that moisture. Whereas, you know, in the past, and how I've got this little 3 to 5 gallon container with cucumbers, well, it grows, but the constant sun and the constant hit on it drains the resources out of the pot a little bit quicker. If we were in a more northern climate that's cooler, I think it might, you know, littler pots like this might be okay. Or, you know, put the little bucket underneath to collect the water so that it goes up. The only problem, again, with the putting these in the container of water is that, you know, you got to watch out for the mosquitoes, so you got to constantly be putting the mosquito pellets in there to kill that, or some stones. So, you know, you're trying to think of stuff of easy, you know, to do or maintain. So, you know, it's all kind of different experiments here. But anyways, let's give you a tour of what's going on here. So the Jamaican hibiscus is growing well in this container. I got 2 plants here, and they're growing well. I had to move it out because it started to overshadow the Egyptian walking onions, which are growing really, really well. All those little sets that I planted have sprouted up, and they're doing well. So they just need to, you know, continue to get bigger and grow here. So that's doing fine. And also the ground cherries are doing fine here too. I got 5 plants in here, and you can see the little paper husk. It looks like a little tomatillo, but that's really the ground cherry. And so I think as these grow bigger, they'll have lots of little ground cherries growing on it. So we'll see how this grows in a container. And then again, like I said, I had to move the other hibiscus over there because it was starting to expand. The flower garden, of course, is doing well. Since the advent of the wood chips, we've moved some things around, and that's all doing fine and dandy. The elephant ears are doing well. This elephant ear will have to plant in a bigger one because it's getting overgrown. And even the cantaloupe back here is kind of got a little second life. It has continually grown and started to even trellis up the back fence, which is fine. Moving over on this side, of course, we're having success here in this raised garden bed. I put carrots here, but they're getting drowned out by the radishes, and I didn't realize how big the Korean radishes were going to overlay on the carrots. So probably, you know, 1 item per container here. But the radishes, you can see that they're growing. I don't know if you can see that with the lighting, but it's growing really big and well. So those, you know, depending on how big we want them to grow, we could even harvest those now a little bit. What else is growing well? Dill. Dill doesn't like this hot Texas sun. It grows really slow, but we're trying to keep it alive here, so it looks like it's doing fine, and we're watering. And then we got the sorrel and amaranth. This is growing very well, very big, so we can start harvesting some leaves, make a salad. And this is starting to grow slowly. The basil and mint and parsley I cut back, so it's starting to regrow. The oregano's growing. And then the Swiss chard, we have taken some off, and then it will just regrow again. So that was the second harvest of Swiss chard, and we'll let that grow back. We got the strawberries and the other plants here. With the tomatoes, I did an experiment here because, you know, it's a long growing season, long hot growing season. And even though these plants could probably continue to thrive, they may have reached their maximum output. I cut them back, and I'm doing an experiment that if I cut them back, and let's see if they regrow, which they are, but we'll see if it's enough for more tomatoes and that kind of thing. But again, you know, these are 10-gallon buckets I got in here, and we got the coconut coir topping. You know, over time, I think the straw does a better insulating job than the coconut coir, even though that's a little bit more decorative and all that. But got to keep those maintained in their moisture level. So we'll move over here to this side and see how this side of the garden is going. One last thing about the raised garden bed here is that what we put in it. So we got the wood chips here on the bottom. So we put the raised bed right on the wood chips. It's probably got 2 to 3 inches of wood chips. So it's got that as a base. And then on top of that, we put some cardboard. You used Amazon shipping boxes and stuff like that. So we made a sheet mulch of the cardboard. Then we soak that down with water. And then for the dirt, we put in, of course, some peat moss, some perlite, and the garden soil mix that we got from the dirt company here. If you live in the Dallas area, Dallas-Fort Worth area, in Fort Worth, they have a local company here called WizQ Stone. And so you can order the dirt or whatever you want by the yard here. So they'll put it in a nice bag so that it keeps it really contained, and then you just take out what you need. So for the raised bed, basically mix that up. And so it's very light. It's very fluffy here, as you can see. And then I got a little rototiller, so I kind of mix it up together to do that. So it should be light, it should be well draining, it should retain enough moisture though as well with the peat moss. And then of course we'll keep doing amendments on here. So we went to Starbucks and they throw out their coffee grounds, so all I got to do is ask them for the coffee grounds. So we got a big bag of coffee grounds and I threw that in there. I'll probably do some other amendments, maybe a nice topping of worm castings or some azomite to put some minerals in it, but kind of get this box ready for the winter here, like a fall garden. So I might put some either beans or cucumbers or something on the back and trellis that up, and then in the front maybe some fall crops. So maybe try some Brussels sprouts, couple stalks of Brussels sprouts, or some rapini and some other things we got that kind of like the cool weather. So you want to put those out a couple weeks before the last frost date. But with the hoop house I can carry that maybe even a little bit further. But with August right now, I wouldn't put them in the ground yet because they'll just burn up or go to bolt. So I'll put some seeds in and start getting that going now. And then maybe by the end of August, kind of in that first week of September, put those out here and see how those will grow. And anyways, do that as an experiment. So anyways, that's kind of what we put in our raised garden bed, and we'll keep doing more with that as well.